What is up, guys? So I just saw the movie The Undertone over the weekend, and it was a creepy movie, but it wasn't like downright scary. So the movie stars Evie, who's a podcaster on this podcast show called The Undertone, and she co-hosts with a guy named Justin. Now, interestingly enough, we don't actually see Justin the entire movie, because apparently when they do this show together, he's in like another state or another country, so we actually only hear his voice throughout the entire movie while they're doing the show together. That's the thing with this horror movie. It took the approach of relying everything on sound. So all the scares, all the tension in this movie, it's all like mostly auditory, whereas a lot of other horror movies, they rely on jump scares. This movie relies more on sounds to try and scare us, and using sounds to scare us, it's nothing new. I mean, every time there's a jump scare or every time there's like a really creepy scene, like the music is what scares us. So in this show, The Undertone, Evie and Justin, they would talk about paranormal activity that happens to listeners worldwide. Like listeners would send in their stories or even their own audio clips, and Evie and Justin, they would listen to these clips and they would try to like find out if it's real or fake. Now, Evie isn't like a believer of the paranormal, but Justin is, because Evie thinks every paranormal story that they get from listeners, she thinks it's like all fake and all a hoax. But Justin thinks they're mostly all real. So that's why they tend to butt heads a lot. And when Evie is not focusing on a podcast, she takes care of her sick mom in bed, because her mom is just bedridden all day. She has some kind of illness that we don't actually know about. So during the day, she takes care of her mom. She does like normal house things. But at nighttime is when she does her podcast show with Justin. So one day, Evie and Justin, they get an anonymous email from someone that they don't know who it is and they can't trace this person. And in this email is like 10 auditory clips from a couple named Mike and Jess. Now, apparently Mike and Jess, they're going through a lot of paranormal activity inside their home. So they recorded like what goes on at nighttime. And apparently Jess, she talks to herself a lot while they're sleeping. And by the next morning, like she doesn't remember anything. Each file is like a different auditory clip of what Mike and Jess go through every single night. There are some nights where Jess is talking to herself. There are some nights where the paranormal activity, like it gets really intense. Evie, of course, she thinks it's all fake, but Justin, he thinks it's all real. So every single day, Evie and Justin, they listen to a different file every single time, and they try to figure out what's going on with this couple, Mike and Jess. Like, is this paranormal activity real, or is this all a hoax? Throughout the movie, Evie also experiences paranormal activity happening inside her own house. So pretty much what she listens to in the audio clips is pretty much happening in her own life. She hears bumps at night, she hears voices. While I was watching this movie, I was really reminded of the movie Paranormal Activity. This movie really reminded me of that one, except the only difference is that The Undertone, it focuses a lot more on like the auditory aspects. From all 10 clips that Evie and Justin listened to, from Evie and Justin just talking to each other during their podcast. And you know what? That was a smart approach, because someone once told me, and I totally agree with their assertion, is that a lot of movies are scary because of the sounds that they make. Whether it's from the music, whether it's just from like a jump scare. If you really think about it, we get scared from a lot of horror movies because of just the music itself. And that's what The Undertone was really trying to take advantage of, is by scaring us with the sounds it makes inside the movie. That was fine. I didn't have a problem with it, but I felt like a lot of the scenes in this movie, but I feel like the movie was really relying way too much on that. Like, there are a lot of scenes that had a lot of tension, and I was expecting a jump scare, but it didn't happen. To me, I was hoping it would be a jump scare, because those are what makes movies scary. But the thing with The Undertone is that it relied way too much on trying to use our auditory senses to try and scare us. There are scenes in this movie where I thought it could have been a lot more scary, but they didn't take advantage of that. The story itself revolved around paranormal activity and like a certain demon that, you know, is haunting people. Again, if you've seen movies about paranormal activity and demons, there's really nothing new it brought to the table in terms of story. The only new aspect that this movie took was just like using a different sense to try and scare the audience. I thought The Undertone was a good, creepy movie. I didn't think it was a really scary as fuck movie. I really praise the filmmakers for trying to use a different approach by using like sounds to try and scare us. Like, there were moments where I was covering my ears more than my eyes. And normally when I'm watching a scary movie, I tend to cover my eyes a lot more. I still recommend watching this movie because I want people to experience a scary movie more by sound than by what they see. Again, it was a creepy movie. It wasn't a scary movie, but it was a good movie. Thank you guys again for watching this movie review. Until the next movie, peace.